Okay, so when it comes to securing a scene of a situation that happened, basically like the first responders, you gotta like prioritize more of like, making sure that everything is safe first and you until you actually get into like the whole situation on what happened. So you gotta like make sure, there's no people around or like that are hurt, injured, or even killed.
So basically, in a crime scene, something happens. The first responder, Savvy said, should always prioritize safety. And then after that is out of the way, they should secure the scene and make sure that any area of the crime scene that is within the area, basically get some tape, close it off, and
Yeah, actually, like then once all the safety stuff is out of place, like once you get everything in check, then you can actually start securing the scene. You start putting the freaking evidence tape and stuff, and taking pictures and doing all that stuff.
Another thing with this is that the first responder should also, when it comes to securing the scene, he already has his yellow tape, his boundary, his collecting the evidence, like Savvy said, taking multiple pictures of various different angles, and also focus on the aspect of documenting what you see, and also pictures and but if you're before all that, there's some other things that you could do, like a general walkthrough, just a feeling of just to scope out the area once everything is closed off. Just walk in the crime scene and just see if you missed anything.
Yeah. So and then it's like the secondary is to actually really look in depth into like what's going on. Like take notes. Like even you as like an investigator, you can even like figure out like by looking at all the shit, like all that you see, all the evidence, you could try to figure out for yourself what happened. Like what could have happened, like what was the crime that was committed, and stuff like that. So like at everything, you gotta like make sure you take notes about it. You want to like pretty much document everything you see. So when I was back in NCTA, we did a whole like crime scene like evidence like like activity, like a lab or whatever, where we all wear the white suits. So we would have like just stuff everywhere, like just based off like a crime scene. We have a dead body and like a glove and like a couple clothing stuff, and then there's like the murder weapon. So first thing that we would do, right, we would take those like those shape those what is it, the shape cards. Like
To mark the
yeah,
evidence,
like
right?
yeah, the mark the evidence.
Little yellow ones.
Yeah, the yellow ones. So we would do that on all the pieces of evidence, right?
Number them off, right?
Yeah, number them off, and then we would actually graph the whole situation, like the whole crime scene. We would first close it off, like with the tape, and then we would take a piece of paper and like label everything, and we would graph the whole like area. So it's like as if we're like looking from up top, we would graph everything. So like this is the paper. We would have like the dead bodies here, and then the guns here, evidence here, evidence here, evidence here, a tree here, tree here, tree here. So that's like everything that's in the perimeter of the whole scene is getting documented. And another thing that he made us do back at NCTA, he would make us measure everything. We would measure the distance from like a main point, like point A, to every single piece of evidence. So we would measure like point A to the dead body, point A to the gun, point A to the hat, point A to the glove, point A to this, point A to that, and he would do that like around the whole like thing. So once you get all that in check, then it's like pretty much like the whole the scene, the whole crime scene is pretty much documented and reviewed by not reviewed, but it's thoroughly checked by the investigators to make sure everything was looked at and stuff like that. And we would also document when it comes to evidence, we would also document like what type of like brands, and like say if it was a hat, like was it a Nike's hat or a Adidas hat, Jordan hat. Like we would just literally document everything that we see like even the most unnecessary details that you wouldn't even use, you still gotta document it. When it comes to like crime scenes, like it's really critical thing because like anything that's like misplaced or like anything that's like moved, it could relate to some like serious shit. It could really like fuck up the whole like case in general. Like if the murder weapon was moved, you know, if someone moved it and they never like did anything about it or documented it or said anything about it, that could really like mess things up.
And like Savvy said, it's a crime scene. If this is something that took place in a public area outside, a witness or a bystander, so they're gonna get curious. They're gonna want to get close to the scene. The first responder should always prioritize getting all those people out of the crime scene area and moving them out, separating them with witnesses, so that witnesses, they should always be separate. They shouldn't be together, because if witnesses are together talking, they might spread any sort of misinformation about who the potential suspect was or with what they saw. So this is why the first responder has a lot to do when it comes to a crime scene, separating witnesses, but also pushing away bystanders from the area to avoid any sort of contamination walking through the area. Even when it comes to the crime scene, like stealing something, messing with something, walking through it, and contamination. So the first responder has a lot to do when it comes to preserving evidence at a crime scene.
Yeah, like he's talking about the whole first responder, like he or she, like they got all the pressure on them before the actual case starts and like evidence is being processed and all that type of stuff. Like he or she, like they gotta make sure everything's in check, because if they screw up, it could potentially screw up, you know, everything. Like I was saying, like if they move something and they never said anything about it, like don't even in the first place, don't even move anything at all, you know. Like you can still like pick it up, but like try to put it back on the same exact like spot that it was found, right? Like if you're picking it up to see what brand it is or like what some certain something is, like you can like, you know, don't like put it somewhere else, because like if you put it somewhere else, it just messes everything up. It's not actually how the crime scene was found when it was first discovered, if that makes sense. Like you gotta make sure the crime scene looks the same as it was discovered in the first place by first responders. And another crucial thing, like he was saying, like you gotta make sure everybody's out. You gotta make sure, you know, because like a lot of people are going crazy too when it, like say it was like a homicide, like someone gets shot, a lot of people are going crazy, and you know, like a lot of people can like try to like change things around to like save the suspect or the killer. So they change things around to make it seem like it was something else. Like you gotta make sure all the bystanders are like out, and like, you know, you gotta just, first responders, like they just got so much shit on their hands. Like they gotta, you know, actually like lock in and, you know, like be ready to like commit and make sure everything's actually in place and check, and they gotta like pretty much do everything before, you know, evidence gets processed and all that.
Another thing that I mentioned is that because if this is like a big crime scene, this could get the attention of media. And you mentioned in class that we have to have some sort of command center and someone who talks to the media and gives out the necessary information to the public, not to like give out any sort of crucial information that kind of messes with the case, but something to just keep them satisfied with.
Yeah,
Another
because
thing,
a lot of people like,
Mhm.
my bad, a lot of people like want answers, like especially if it's like a crazy situation, like so many people want answers, like what the hell happened. Like it's, if it's like a celebrity dying, right? Like the latest one was, you know, when Charlie Kirk got shot at the university, and like so many people just wanted answers, and everyone was just going crazy, right? And it was like a pretty like, it was a crime scene, like that whole like that booth that he was in, that was all the crime scene, right? So they gotta close it off, and there were so many bystanders, right? So they gotta like move everybody the hell out and make sure that people don't mess with the stuff that's within that crime scene, you know. So like it's so crucial to like really make sure that bystanders and like other distractions are not like interfering within the crime scene itself, because it could really mess up a lot of things. And that's another thing when it comes to especially like when it comes to like evidence and like securing evidence and like securing like a whole crime scene, that ties in also with the community too. Like there's like, because like they want to know like what's going on and what's happening, so you gotta like also let them like give them like little info on it's like what's going on too, because if not, then they're gonna think that the police has something to do with it. They're gonna it's a bunch of like just crazy thinking that people have. So you gotta like kind of like balance it out. Like you gotta like put a lot of like effort into the crime scene itself, and you gotta put a lot of effort into letting know the society of what's actually going on too, so they're not like just thinking like a bunch of crazy stuff like the actual police has something to do with it, like just like crazy stuff like that. Like you gotta always keep them updated as well on the crime scene and like what's going on, and you just gotta keep them like updated with like evidence itself and like the whole case pretty much in general. I mean, there's some stuff you can't talk about, but there's also like some things that you could tell them here and there just to keep them like satisfied, like you were saying, with the whole situation itself, because like everyone's going crazy, like even with the whole Charlie crazy thing, like everyone's just going crazy, like just. And another thing, like social media can actually ruin evidence too. Like, do you
Yeah.
think that social media can ruin evidence?
Yeah, totally. It can spread misinformation about what's going on. And another thing that I was going to talk about regarding the whole thing, when it comes to crime scene management, there's a whole structure. Like we said, first responders, what you do when you get into the crime scene, basically help those who need first aid, secure it, bag up evidence, take photos, write anything down, sketch anything you see. And another thing, like I said, is like later on build a command center where everyone can gather and basically like write down, set up sort of like a command center. Something that they have is you basically write down a lot of, you tell everyone about the case and information. And because it's a crime scene, it can be outside, and if it's in the outside elements, the crime scene is vulnerable to getting contaminated by rain or animals or any sort of outside variable.
Yeah, that's another good ass topic. Like, even the weather itself, nature could really mess up evidence too. Like, say if there's like paper involved, right? If it rains like shit, like the paper's gonna get messed up. So like when it comes to also securing evidence, you gotta make sure like as soon as you document everything, and like as I was saying how we did back in NCTA where we like graphed everything, you gotta make sure right away after you gotta like bag everything up as evidence.
Preserve it.
Yeah, preserve evidence. You gotta, just to make sure that like to prevent anything else from that could happen to it. That's even not in the fault of people, right? There's animals out there, the weather, like it could be a lot of different factors that could like
And like
eliminate
you,
the evidence.
like you mentioned in class, an example that there was a time where patrol cars had to like block off an area because a crime scene to prevent like wind or something from further damaging the evidence. So anything that an officer or a first responder that he could do to preserve the evidence from being further damaged is the best they can do. And another thing is chain of custody properly, after you collected everything, detailing it, writing your name, if
The time, the
Yeah.
date, I think location too, right?
location. If this isn't properly handled and detailed, this can be useful information to a case and prevently sort of not used as evidence because of how it wasn't properly handled and secured.
Yeah, if the chain of custody like breaks, like it's a chain, right? If the chain snaps, like your whole case is fucked. Like someone, like say if an officer like or someone like opened it and like did stuff to it, like they're trying to work on the case, and they didn't document like of them doing it, that could really mess things up. You
And
feel like that? Like,
yeah,
But like, how would you think that like when it comes to the court and they know like they how
That-
how would you think the court would like
Well, they would-
react to it if they found out that an officer didn't, like just a little tiny mistake.
It would be the integrity of the evidence. It can basically break the whole case as a whole. If this is a valuable piece of evidence, the suspect is basically gonna I don't know what it's called, but the other side who's attacking the defense team, they're basically gonna chew out the officer on that piece of evidence and basically argue that that piece of evidence isn't valuable because of how the chain of custody broke and it isn't safe to use in court. And another thing that I wanted to talk about was a secondary walkthrough. After you do your primary walkthrough, just to scope out the whole scene and see what you need, a secondary walkthrough is crucial to see if you missed any information in the initial primary walkthrough, because when we were learning about Tara, we learned about how when the the investigators,
Bro, literally, the GBI,
Yeah.
when they investigated everything, right,
They
the
missed
whole
the
crime,
glove.
dude, they missed a lot of shit. They didn't like do it properly. Like, this is, bro, like, not doing a secure crime scene, like not having the elements in check and not doing everything fucking properly, like it really messes things up. And that's what the GBI did when it came to Tara. Because that guy Morris, he found so much other shit that the GBI could have found.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually so stupid.
That's why a secondary walkthrough is always crucial. and
Yeah, so
important.
situations like this don't happen.
A missing glove, a broken necklace,
Yeah.
anything that can help with the case.
Yeah. And see, this case was like so crucial, right? Like, this was a very serious case. Like, there's a freaking podcast about it, and it was like all over the news. The whole nation knew about it, right? Or at least, but you know, when, like, if you don't like keep things in check and actually like take the time and effort to do something, it's gonna look really bad on your department, and like, you know, just it's gonna look bad on the case in general. Because now, when it comes to evidence, especially with Tara's case, everyone's saying that the case wasn't investigated properly. Like, everyone's like talking
Yeah.
down about it because like they
Basically.
didn't investigate evidence like properly. They didn't actually find evidence. They didn't like actually secure the crime scene of what could have happened. I mean, I know like it was like a whole different other situation when it came to like Ryan Dukes on how everything.
It took the family in order to get some sort of closure and to hire a private investigator to find the second glove and additional piece of evidence at the crime scene. And a lot of families can't afford a private investigator, so that's why it's always crucial for the first responders to do multiple walkthroughs to see if they missed something in the initial search, because this could save the family a lot of time and a lot of
money.
grief.
Yeah.
And they could also save the potential taxpayers a lot of money from, like this cold case, Tara. It was an 11-year case that could have been shorter if there wasn't so many failures throughout the whole investigation.
Yeah. And they shouldn't even be like hiring like actual like special investigators. Like it's their job, right? Like, it's your duty to do that. When it comes to securing evidence, securing a scene, that you're trained. I'm pretty sure you guys are trained to you know how to do it. Like, on the primary, you know, to skim things out, take notes here and there, and then on the second time, you actually really lock in and focus on everything, and you document everything, and you make sure everything that's present in the scene, you know about it, and it's documented. So,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta like make sure everything has like everything's in check, all the evidence is in check, all the measurements are in check. I mean, I don't know if people usually do that like
You said,
now, because
if,
like, oh my god.
sorry. If all the procedures when it comes to investigating a crime scene, if they're not all done, the whole investigation is going to be flawed out and won't be good, because if there's something that you miss or don't do, the whole case isn't really going to be good. And like we mentioned, there's a lot of key important details when it comes to crime scene management, taking pictures, protecting evidence from the outside elements, rain, animals, even people, and separating bystanders. And a lot of it is basically how you organize a crime scene and prevent any sort of failure with the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean the bottom line is when it comes to securing a crime scene, crime like management, just do it carefully, because we already know what happened with Tara's situation. You know, always do a secondary check. You know, my own advice: do a third check if you're feeling anxious about it. But the main idea is, you know, when you first discover it, when you're first about to look into it, always prioritize safety first. Always make sure people are away and people are safe. The community is safe, so no one feels uncomfortable or in danger. Or, you know, always call, you know, first responders, ambulance if someone's injured. You know, that's literally step one to anything when it comes to law enforcement,
Like
right?
you
Safety
said,
first.
this is crucial for the integrity of the case and the outcome, to make sure that all these steps are all done to prevent any sort of failure.
Yeah. So always, you know, just make sure everything's in check, dude. Like, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's not simple, but like, it's a simple idea, you know? Safety first, and make sure everything is documented and, you know about it, and make sure everything is pretty much discovered, so there's a better chance of getting the victim's family to justice.
Yeah, dude.